Hey ladies, are you going through either a breakup and you're newly single and you want to make sure that you make the right choice for your next partner? Or you're dating someone who's recently gone through a breakup or through a divorce or something like that, and you're checking yourself like, is this really real or is this just a rebound? So tonight we're going to talk about how to tell if it's a rebound or a reboot, and how to make sure that for yourself you reboot your love life so that every time that you go through a breakup, hopefully you don't have to go through any more of those, but every time that you do, that you can actually upgrade your partner and upgrade a different pattern of attraction so you can have what you want when it comes to love. So the reason this is a huge problem is because a lot of times we're kind of foggy when we get out of a relationship. Like, we can't actually see things the way that they are. And the reason I say that is because I've seen time and time again when a woman's either dating a man who's just getting out of a relationship, or she herself is just getting out of a relationship, and the choices we make in those times are not always congruent with where we're going long term. So think about it. It's like if we've spent any amount of time with someone, even if it was just a few months, if our feelings got involved, if our emotions got involved, that person started entraining with our nervous system. So human beings have these things called mirror neurons, and that means that we mirror each other and our nervous systems start to, communicate with one another. They start to entrain with one another, and they call it co-regulate with one another. So when you go through a breakup, it's like a whole part of your nervous system, a whole part of your energy gets shifted. There's a vacuum there now where you don't have the same connection, the same energy, the same, space that you had when you were with someone. And I think about it like being sick. So I was sick last week. I had a nasty flu and cold, and I'm still kind of getting over it. You might even be able to hear it in my voice. But I'm still feeling a little bit different in my mind because I'm coming off of having cold medicine, of not sleeping that well, still feeling a little bit loopy. So if you've ever felt a little bit like loopy after you get sick, then you know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing after a breakup. We get a little bit loopy, like we just don't see things the same way, partially because of this nervous system thing. Our nervous system's in train, and then that person leaves, and there's just like this reorganization that's happening. And partially because of that vacuum, because of that person leaving, or because of us moving on, then we almost grasp to fill that space. And this is a big deal because what you fill that space with makes a big difference. So if you've ever done like a cleanse or a purge or something like that, and afterwards you're like, yes, I want a cheeseburger and a glass of wine, and a piece of chocolate cake, your body is going to react very differently to that versus if you get through a cleanse and you're thinking, oh, you know what? This is a reset. I'm going to do a new eating plan. I'm going to treat my body really well. I've purified the temple of my body, and now I'm going to only put really nice things in it. But a lot of people don't go through breakups in that way. We go through the purge of letting go of the person, but then we just fill it with kind of this junk food. And I have been there before myself. I went through a really difficult breakup actually a few months before I met my now husband, Jason. And the person I dated right after that, the person after the breakup, but between the breakup and me finding Jason, was not a good fit. I look back and I think, why did I date that person? Like, what was I thinking? On paper, he had a lot of the things that I was looking for, but personality-wise, we were like oil and water. And yes, opposites attract sometimes, but it was almost like I was convincing myself to like him out of almost desperation. I didn't know it at the time. I wouldn't have labeled it that at the time, but it was because of this sense of that vacuum, that need to fill that space. And especially if you have an anxious attachment style, like I do, and like a lot of women that I work with do, connection is really important to you, and you tend to rush into connection without actually thinking, is this a rebound or is this a reboot? And then for you ladies that are on the other side of the equation, how many of you have dated men who are just getting out of a divorce, just getting out of a relationship, and he comes in super strong and hot and heavy, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he's telling you, yeah, the relationship has been over for a really long time. You're the most amazing woman I've ever met. And he's totally romancing you. Now, some men can keep that up. Some men, they do. They're just like, okay, I know what I don't want. That was my last relationship. Now I know what I do want, and you're it. And it feels really good when that happens, but we have to be grounded in ourselves, and we have to be a little bit careful because that person that is interested in us is coming on really strong again because that vacuum mechanism. They have not had the relationship that they were in, and so now there's a vacuum and they're kind of rushing in to fill that vacuum. But you don't know if they're looking at you as a space holder. And I mean, I'm not putting anyone down by this, but it's just they may be looking at you kind of in that looped up like cough syrup brain, that like vacuum I've got to fill, and they might not actually see the real you. So people can't see the real you until they take time, until they get to know you, until they see, well, what's she like when she has a bad day? What happens when she's stressed? How does she take care of her animals and her family? You know, what are her hobbies? How do we talk about things that are difficult? Does she tell me if she doesn't like the date that I'm planning or if something isn't sitting well with her? You know, how does she respond when I mess up? Like all of those aspects of creating a really healthy partnership with unconditional love, you can't tell in the first few weeks. So by all means, enjoy the romance, enjoy the rush. But if you're worried about the person that you're dating, that they've just gotten through a breakup and you're wondering, am I a rebound or am I a reboot? Only time will tell, and only dating in a way that's really sophisticated. When I say dating in a way that's sophisticated, I don't mean that you need to be on 25 different apps. I mean sophisticated in terms of staying connected to your body, trusting your intuition, understanding the flow of masculine and feminine, understanding how to both give him space, but without losing your sense of your own needs and your own desires, and without, losing your sense of authenticity. So it does take sophistication to date nowadays because everything is different. There are so many more options, so many more technologies, and so many more experiences that we're all bringing to the table because people are getting settled down later and later. So there's a lot more, you could call it baggage. And so there's a lot more people kind of running around either doing the rebound or the reboot. And I want to save you from that heartbreak of having to go through the rebound, both for yourself if you're recently single or if you're dating someone who's just getting out of a relationship. So again, it's just a cautionary tale. It doesn't mean that you can't date someone who's just got out of a relationship, because there is a chance that they've actually done their work, that they have a support system, that they understand what happened in the relationship and they take responsibility for their part, and that they've been looking for someone like you, and it could be, happily ever after. But the chances of that are smaller if you haven't done your own personal work to notice the red flags, to get the support of a mentor and a community who's been there before, and to help you go at a pace that feels right for you instead of feeling like this, the vacuum energy, like you're just getting sucked in this person's world, or that you're trying to fill a space in that way. So imagine if you could get to know someone in a way that was super romantic, you're falling head over heels, but at the same time, like really grounded, really practical, setting a really solid foundation. I was working with one of my VIP clients a few days ago and telling her about a book that Jason and I read together when we first started dating, that I look back and I think, oh my God, I can't believe we read a book together at like month 2 or maybe week 6 or something like that. That was so cool. It was so cool that we were that interested in building a solid foundation in our relationship that we were willing to invest hours and hours of time listening to this Audible together in order to create a really healthy love. Now, Jason had gotten out of a relationship about a year, a little less than a year before we met. And I had gotten out of a relationship really recently. Like I had said, I dated a guy in between my last breakup. So there wasn't a lot of time between the last person that I dated seriously and then meeting him. But it was okay because I knew what I wanted. I knew what worked for me and what didn't. And I had gone through a lot of the emotional healing and the tools to become emotionally resilient and stay connected to my vision and my boundaries and all of those things. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, wow, I kind of toggle back and forth, I go from the bad boy to the good boy, or I go from like safe, boring to like kind of sarcastic and pompous. I mean, that's my pattern, right? A lot of women will go from dating someone who's safe, but maybe we're not that interested in, to dating someone who's not very good for us. It's just a reenactment of our old attachment style, a reenactment of an old pattern. And then we'll toggle between the two, back and forth, and think like, oh my God, why are men crazy? Or like, why can't I find a great person? Well, it's because we're only seeing the world through either safe or dangerous lenses. And our nervous system needs to be somewhere in between. We need to have some variety, some excitement, some arousal. Obviously, that's a big part of dating and falling in love. But we can't have so much of that we don't feel safe enough to be our true self. And we can't have so little of that we feel suffocated, or we feel bored, or we feel distant from our partner. So if you have a hard time choosing the right partner for you, and you tend to get into relationships with men who aren't totally available yet, or who sweep you off your feet but then leave you kind of cold, or if you just want to learn how to master the art of dating in a way that you can build a great relationship step by step and have a solid foundation of trust, so that this is a reboot, like taking you to the next level instead of feeling like you're a rebound, then I would love to talk. We do free 45-minute breakthrough to love sessions, and these are awesome because you get 45 minutes, sometimes even longer than that, with an expert. where we're going to sit down and better understand with you what are your patterns of attraction, what's been holding you back from love, what are the things that might be getting in the way, masculine, feminine energy, or having a hard time being vulnerable, or losing your confidence, or being afraid to ask for what you want. We're going to dissect all of those things with love and help you get total clarity on what's been going on in your love life, and then also get clarity on what it is that you really want. What's that vision of a healthy partnership that just gets better and better day after day? Imagine feeling that safe, that secure, but also that turned on. That's the magic for me. So we'd love to go through this with you, this process with you, our Breakthrough to Love calls. And you can sign up at violetlang.com/talk. We have about 40 to 50 women reaching out to work with us every single week. And we only have about 30 spots on our calendar. So those do fill up fast. So go to violetlang.com/talk and book your free Breakthrough to Love session. And if we feel like it's a good fit for us to continue our work together, then we'll explain more about our program, Queens of Pleasure, and what that might look like to really get a handle on your dating life in that way and build a lasting love. But if we feel like it's not a good fit, then we won't invite you into the program and you don't even have to worry about it. So either way, you'll get a lot of value and a lot of clarity, and everyone wins because the planet gets more love and we all get more skilled in the art of relationship. So thank you for watching and sending you lots of love. May you receive the reboot that you need this season to have everything that your heart desires. Mwah.